Hey YouTube, it's Earl, and tonight it's time for another tobacco review. Tonight we'll be looking at the Balkan Sobraine. So let's get to it. Okay guys, so tonight let's talk about one of the most storied pipe tobaccos that is still in production today, although it's changed, and that's the Balkan Sobraine. Now, the House of Sobraine was a legendary tobacco producer in London, I think dating all the way back to like the late 1800s, and they're actually, believe it or not, still Sobraine cigarettes made. I think they're primarily sold in Russia and other parts of Europe, but Balkan Sobraine is what you would call, I guess, maybe a legendary pipe tobacco from the perspective of that it was a very popular mass-produced pipe tobacco in the 60s and 70s that had a large following and also subsequently went out of production. And so it's one of these that many of you who may have been alive in the 60s and 70s have fond memories of. And so subsequently it's gone through several iterations and owners from the House of Sobraine as they sold off the rights to the tobacco and its recipe many years ago. But it's gone through several different owners and some different iterations, but that memory seems to drive people, and maybe even the scarcity of the product, especially because it is now manufactured by Germain and Sons in the British Isles. But that was a kind of long-winded introduction to the Balkan Sobraine. It is an English blend. We'll kind of do our whole review, although I must say I planned this poorly because I have my last bit of this tobacco in my pipe right now. So maybe some of the things where we talk about cut and tin note won't be as relevant as normal. But the Balkan Sobraine, again, a long storied blend. It is a English blend, but as the name seems to indicate, Balkan, it has a good portion of Orientals. Now, their original manufacturer had a very special Oriental tobacco, and I don't know how to pronounce it, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce it, but that's kind of what gave it its unique character back in the 60s and 70s, but that was long replaced a long time ago, so much so that even in the 70s and 80s that the pipe tobacco that was around was not the same as what had been previously around. But it's an English blend that has a good component of Oriental tobaccos in here, but it also has a large component of Latakia tobaccos. Now, the tin note, I'll give it to you as best I can from what's left. First, there is something that is, like I said, it is a Germain's blend, okay, or they're the house that is blending them now. And so there is something that's reminiscent of Germain blends in here. But one of the things that struck me was the amount of this kind of mustiness in the tobacco, the kind of matured funk that can be there as a tobacco is aged. And my tin of tobacco, I think, is a year and a half old. And so it had some pretty good age on it. I mean, that's not a crazy age, but it had some age on it. And so it had a real good mustiness when I first opened it up, a kind of Oriental funk is what I would call it. Not COVID-19, just an Oriental funk. And so yeah, that's the tin note. It is a Germain's cut. Again, all my tobacco is in my pipe, so I can't show you the cut, but it was those very, very thin, fine ribbons, almost a shag cut, or maybe it is a shag cut for Germain's. And when I really got down to the end, most of what I had left was a good component of Latakia and some kind of strings of Virginias. But let me light it up and kind of tell you my impressions of the smoke, and this is really going to be my impressions over the whole tin, not just what I'm smoking tonight. Okay, one of the things I enjoy about this blend is that when you light up, you instantly, there is kind of this sweetness from the Latakia that is there that I love. So you get plenty of that Latakia aroma and sweetness and kind of incensey aroma that it creates. There's a good bit of sweetness here from what I would imagine are some Virginias. There's not a ton. This is a very dark blend. So it has a good portion of Latakia, maybe 30 to 50% of this is Latakia, so it's very much very heavy in Latakia, in my opinion. But all that being said is, in my opinion, I find that the Latakia moves quickly to the background, that it doesn't dominate this blend. That it is called a Balkan for good reason, and very much does bring a little Oriental spice to the table, a little pepper. There's not a ton of sweetness in this blend, but it's not real savory like I would say Key Largo was last week. This is just to me, it's a good middle of the road English with maybe a little bit more spiciness, but it's full bodied and flavored. But at the same time, I'd say this is nothing special. It, to me, it doesn't warrant a lot of effort to get, nor would I pay a premium for this. Peterson's standard mixture is every bit as good, in my opinion. And if you're really wanting something with some oomph in the English category, I think you go towards 9 cap. So I have a hard time finding a place to fit this. If you want sweetness, you kind of go, 965, or maybe if you can scrounge up some London mixture somewhere, or like a Westminster or a Quiet Nights. There are just so many options for a good English blend that, to me, while this is a mighty fine English blend, there's nothing more than that. So I wouldn't be, if I were you, spending much time on this. I wouldn't spend much time searching for it or paying for it. I would just, if you get it, and here's what I did. I got this in a combo with a bag of Pembroke, I think. And so it was part of a deal. Like, I think I got a bag of Pembroke, this, and maybe even a pipe, and I forget what online retailer was running that deal. So in my opinion, it's a good blend, but I wouldn't spend a ton of time searching for it. I would love to know what the original tasted like. I really wish there were a way we could recreate some of these classic blends, but so much of it, from what I understand, is that the leaf just isn't available. From Syrian Latakia is no longer on the market. To many of the varieties of Orientals that used to be made, because pipe tobacco, again, is primarily kind of a hanger-on from cigarette tobacco production, that many of the leaves are now just mixed in with the regular cigarette tobacco production and aren't segregated off for pipe tobaccos anymore, and so therefore you can't get them anymore, and that's just kind of sad. But here's hoping maybe it'll get better. Maybe we'll get a resurgence in pipe smokers. I kind of doubt it, but it'd be nice if it happened. Well, gang, it's Earl. Been my review of the Balkan Sobraine, an okay English blend. Y'all have a good night. Talk to you again soon.